Do you know what you ought to do?
What?
You ought to get into the ever demand for formerly obscure elements.
You know, I was just thinking of making a career.
Rare
change.
earth. You know, rare earths are the vitamins of chemistry.
Wasn't that a band?
No, they are. Well, it was, but
yeah, okay.
We had a listener, or actually not a listener. It was a television. It was a viewer that told us about a company called Avalon Advanced Materials. They are publicly traded here in the U.S. under the stock symbol AVLNF. You can go to their website, avalonmaterials.com. I'm sorry, I beg your pardon, avalonadvancedmaterials.com. The reason I wanted to bring this in is because Don Bubar is the president and CEO.
Lithium.
But during all of these trade talks, you talk about rare earths. Right. And rare earth is the vitamins of chemistry. And these guys are right in that business. I thought it was great. Don, how are you, sir? Great to talk to you.
Great to be here.
Okay, so you're a scientist. We're a couple of idiots on the radio and television. So
Lithium.
are we accurate in saying that rare earth elements are the vitamins of chemistry? They're the things that make electronics go and batteries go and so on and so forth?
Increasingly, that's the case. They are vital to a whole lot of new technology and are going to get more and more important as time goes on and the world starts to rely on more new technologies.
Now, you've been involved in exploration of minerals and such in Canada for 40 years. Talk about sort of the market share as it relates to Canada, the U.S., and even China, because I keep on hearing stories that 70% of rare earths are mined in China, and that's a problem if we go to a trade war. Not to get political here, but let's just talk about my Jumbotron screen at the stadium. Let's talk about my iPhone screen. I mean, is this going to affect consumers, and can Canadian mining come to the rescue, as I think it can?
Well, yes, I think it can. Mm-hmm. The reality is the supply chains have never really been developed outside of China in any material way. Historically, the markets have been fairly small, and China was able to supply the world. But as that demand continues to grow, you need to have new supply sources. 10 years ago, you may recall there was a lot of talk about rare earths when China first imposed export quotas on Japan in retaliation for a political event at the time. And there was a lot of interest, but sadly, those supply chains never did get fully created. So we're still in the same circumstance we were 10 years ago.
Well, what's interesting too about China isn't known for its honesty, let's say. So when rare earths are not legal or pulled back by the government, there are rare earth pirates, so to speak.
That would be trouble.
But it is an interesting. And look, these are all critical materials needed in clean and efficient energy, in aerospace, in defense electronics. I mean, how important is this stuff that we don't ever really think about until times of crisis? This is some really important stuff, correct?
Yes, they are used in small amounts in a lot of new technology, especially aerospace and defense, but increasingly clean technology as well. Wind turbines rely on rare earth magnets in the generators, and electric vehicles need rare earth magnets in the electric motors to make them small, lightweight, and efficient. And the list goes on and on.
What's the rarest of the rare earths?
By the way, they're not rare as gold or silver. They're just difficult to mine. Aren't they within other metals? Talk to us about, because I think people get that confused a little bit, Don, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's a very important point, actually, is rare earths are actually not that rare in nature. They occur in many places around the world. The challenge with rare earths is in extracting them efficiently into the forms that can then be used in these new technologies as magnets. There are multiple steps involved in extracting them, and they're fairly high cost. So it takes quite a lot of capital to get it started, and at some risk on being able to get them out cleanly and efficiently.
So let's talk about Avalon Advanced Materials. You guys are trying to take the lead in this business here with respect to the global stage. Talk about exactly what you guys do, how you got started in it, and where you are sort of in the curve here with respect to what we're seeing here on in the news almost every week.
Well, I've been kind of a leader in this space for a long time. I recognize this new trend for some of these obscure elements being important in new technology over 20 years ago, and started in the rare earth space about 15 years ago. And then we had that whole phenomenon with the bubble 10 years ago. And while at that time the bubble burst and we didn't quite get to the finish line in terms of being able to access the capital we needed to get an operation started, I sensed that there would be another day, that the world was not going to switch to something else. They were going to continue to need rare earths and probably in greater and greater quantities. So we've hung on to the project waiting for the right kind of market circumstance to come along to allow us to do that. And bingo, it's just happened in this last year or so.
What are a couple rare earths, though? I see the lithium pop up there, I guess. Is graphite in
How
the
about
category?
indium?
Oh, indium.
Indium.
I've never heard of that.
How about terbium? Am I right?
Terbium.
Yes.
Terbium is a rare earth element, but the other ones you mentioned are other similar rare metals that are not specifically rare earth elements. Rare earths are the lanthanide series down at the bottom of the periodic table with all those exotic names ending in
So like lithium? Is
Two or three
lithium
of
a
them that
rare
are
earth?
really important.
Where's lithium stand in this?
That's got to be a big one.
Well, lithium is another very important rare metal, actually. It's number 3 in the periodic table there and vitally important for new energy storage technology, the lithium-ion battery for electric vehicles. And it's another one that has not been used in great quantities in the past, and now all of a sudden we need lots of it, and the supply chain needs to be developed. But again, it's not that easy. There's lots of deposits, but you have to take that lithium out and turn it into a highly refined, high purity material before it can be used in a battery.
With you guys, so talk about your company in and of itself. Are you actually going into the ground? Are you exploring? Are you at the same? Are you mining and exploring?
We're an exploration development company, so our expertise is in knowing where to find the resources and how to get them out of the ground. And in this market, we have to rely on the market telling us what they need, so we can try to bring that supply to them when they need it.
As far as you think in terms of mining, you think in terms of gold and silver and copper mining and so on and so forth. They're market driven on almost a daily basis. I mean, we're seeing gold hit. We were above 1,400 last week. Gold's on a tear right now. Do you guys kind of follow your own markets with respect, because it's not the same sort of an auction as is the rare metal auction that you see as an investment grade material? How do you guys price out, and how do you know how things are going well as far as when you're forecasting your numbers and such like that? Because it has to go with what the price of these metals are, right?
Well, that's a very good question, and that's one of the real fundamental differences in these materials with traditional exchange-traded commodities like the precious metals, in that there is not the same visibility on pricing as there is with gold and silver, where you can pull up a price every day where it's trading on a commodity exchange. There are no commodity exchanges for these because they are basically more like a refined chemical product, and they have to be produced to certain specifications depending on where they're going to be used.
Wow.
So the pricing is really something that gets negotiated between the producer and the consumer depending on exactly what specifications he needs. So at this point, the markets are too small for the be kind of a standard product and predictable pricing on it.
Hey, listen, I have to tell you, really interesting stuff, Don, and we'd love to have you back on the air to talk about it, because I don't think anyone is actually, I mean, you guys are so timely also with respect to what's happening in the news, and no one has actually been able to talk about it. But see,
I got the feeling that there's just a bunch of money out back. I just get a shovel and start sifting through it.
There is a bunch of money out back. You ought to take a look at it, then, pal.
Yeah.
All right, Big Biz Show, bigbizshow.com. Don Bubar, the name of the company is Avalon Advanced Materials. AvalonAdvancedMaterials.com is the website. If you want to check out their stock, it's AVLNF.